Good evening, everyone. It is wonderful to be back on campus and to celebrate an incredible incoming Hall of Fame class. I am thrilled to have the honor of introducing Felician's most decorated cross-country runner and my husband, Rob Albano. Rob joined Felician's cross-country team in 2009 after much success running cross-country and track at Aquatic Township High School. His parents had had him try every sport growing up, so if there had been a position for outfield dandelion picker in baseball or kid field at basketball reps, we wouldn't be here because apparently Rob had a very promising future in those as a child. Lucky for us, running edge those out was the sport that clicked for him early after finding local races with his dad and opportunities to compete when he was young. Running is a sport where what you put in, hours training, miles logged, workouts completed, typically yield strong results, and Rob had the training behind him and the dedication to do something great at Felician. After putting together respectable seasons and reining in some of his stubbornness, thanks to talented coaches John Brennan and Sebastian Powell, Rob truly began to hit his stride at Felician. Rob won the Philly Metro Invitational as many times as he could, was named CACC Runner of the Week several times, and was recognized in the Academic All-CACC team. He was ready for more though. His win at the CACC Championships left him eager for a repeat. This brings us to his last season. We met by sheer luck his senior year, my sophomore, in EDU 220, just a few steps away from here at San Martino Hall. Our very first conversation started by me asking him, hey, was that you running between campuses earlier? So our relationship actually began with running too. I remember going to his dorm and seeing a whiteboard with checked off workouts, sneakers in the corner, spike wrenches, more sneakers, and empty sneaker boxes because clearly he had to save those as like some kind of collector's item, I guess. A foam roller adorning the floor, and awards as some of my first impressions. Okay, so he was a runner and he was serious about it. He would typically rush from class to make it to practice, and they should end early so he could be well rested for the next day's workout. To say he was dedicated was definitely an understatement. And while he gave off a certain swagger when he'd say, oh yeah, I did an easy 8-miler today, over half-price appetizers, I could see through the bravado that he was someone very determined to leave his mark and put together the best season of his life that senior year. And as we all know, he did. He won every meet he ran and made history along the way. Rob captured the top spot at the CACC Championship meet, besting his closest competition by half a minute, and made conference history by becoming a now two-time winner of the conference championship. He went on to place all region and was able to confidently say that he put together the best season he could. Beyond his own accomplishments, Rob cared very deeply about the success of the men's cross-country team as a whole. Rob's unquestionable talent and dedication earned him the role to serve as a leader for the underclassmen. Texts, hangouts, conversations with his teammates to check in, or just to ask his advice about injuries and training or life in general, these were all frequent. The guys trusted him to lead them in the right direction. His passion for the sport motivated many, including me, to chase after running goals, and as he loves to cheer for his teammates and athletes, give it everything you've got. He continues to encourage and inspire his own athletes as a coach, and it is my hope his motivation will inspire our son and soon-to-be daughter as well. It is my honor to welcome Rob as he is inducted into the Felician Athletics Hall of Fame.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to my lovely wife, Cassandra, for that lovely introduction. I'm a little taken aback now. I'm going to take a breath here. This is a day that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. Okay, from the day that the Athletics Hall of Fame was announced, I actually texted Mark Mentone, or it might have been a Facebook message, he's laughing now because he knows this is true, to figure out how many years you have to be post-graduation to be eligible to be inducted into the Felician Hall of Fame. I joked with him that the extra time would allow me to cut down on the speech so I wasn't standing up here all night. I'd like to start by thanking those that helped me make the decision to choose Felician as my college of choice. My parents, especially my mother, pushed me to look at as many colleges as possible before jumping into a decision. She also encouraged me to live on campus. I still hypothesized that she may have just wanted me out of the house. After all, the house was much cleaner without empty water bottles, shoe boxes, and other things all over the place, but I digress. Upon stepping on campus at Felician, meeting the current team, and taking a tour with Coach Brennan and Coach Powell, I knew I was in the right place. I gave my verbal commitment a few weeks later and signed my letter of intent on the first day of eligibility. I would also like to thank my longtime friend and teammate throughout both our time at Felician and Pequannock County High School, James Vanderweel, for pushing me to join him at Felician. I found it ironic that I spent years trying to get James to join the Pequannock cross-country team, to no avail until his senior year when finally the soccer team kind of broke him away that he wasn't getting much playing time. And I was very happy to have him there. So kind of funny he was the one bringing me back here. James was also my rock for summer training. Going into my freshman year of college, we met every Saturday morning at Lewis Morris Park, which if you haven't heard of it, is probably the hilliest place in this area to run at and watching the space, because I brought him there several times for very long runs. We ran about 15 miles every Saturday morning. We met every week. We also met many times during the week for daily training runs through our flat town. And coming into Felician, the team had won the previous 5 CACC titles. I was motivated to do whatever I could to help them not only stay on top of the conference, but make some noise in the region as well. Unfortunately, the 2009 cross-country season, my freshman year, didn't exactly go according to plan. A very serious injury in the very first week of the season at Delaware Valley left James hobbled at the hip the entire season. We ran side by side that meet for the first 3 miles before James told me to, quote, "Go for it, Rob," which I knew was not a good sign. We were stride for stride in every run, practice, and workout. I knew I had more to give. It wasn't until after that race that I realized the extent of his injury. James would run on a limited basis for the remainder of the year. As an awkward, stubborn, and sometimes showboaty freshman in a new environment, I did not click with the rest of the team right away. Our lack of team chemistry, stacked on top of James's injury, led us to placing second to Philadelphia University. I see a trend here with the leagues now, I'm sure. At our first major invitational of the year, which is the Philadelphia Metro Championships at the conference course at Belmont Plateau against all of the CAC teams that were in attendance. While I was thrilled with my individual win that day, and PR at the time, the mood on the team was shattered after that race. The next day we were all over the place, some of us running too fast on our easy run, out of desperation trying to get there quicker. Others struggling to fight through all of this adversity. Ultimately, we lost the CACC by a wide margin that year. I placed 16th, missing all CACC status to runners I had beaten by minutes a month prior. Okay, so I have to say to JR, earlier he called me a 4-time all CACC runner, and that is unfortunately not true. We were beaten and demoralized, but we made a commitment as a team to change things going forward. We wanted to come back faster and stronger than ever before and put this miserable season behind us. And by God, we did. The real wake-up call for me personally was when Coach Brennan waited for me after practice one day leading up to the regional meet in 2009. I didn't know it at the time, but I had a case of asthmatic bronchitis that I was running through. We were tapering, only running about 30 to 40 minutes a day. But Coach waited for me as I ignored his instructions and ran about 80 minutes. He let me hear it, and I'll never forget that quote. "When things aren't going well, I don't care about your high mileage background. You need to effing listen." He was right. I shut it down that day and did not run regionals. We had a meeting as a team, no coaches, to plan out how the mentality would change going forward. Luckily for me, James and another teammate, Taylor Trembetti, moved on campus that spring, which allowed us to bond not only as teammates, but as friends. We began to hang out after practice and on weekends more as a full team, including our on-campus upperclassmen teammates like Brendan Brewer and Jay Rogers. The 2010 season had a completely different feel to it. We were a real team. No one missed a workout. We adjusted all of our schedules so that we could always make sure that we got our workouts in together, even if it was at 6 a.m., 11 a.m., 4 p.m. Didn't really matter the time. We made sure we were always at Garrett Mountain, all together on Tuesdays for a serious hill workout, or over at Tryon Field for a tempo workout on Wednesdays. Practices no longer felt like we were racing each other. We took turns setting the pace and who would lead each interval. James, Taylor, even Tim Pitcher would rotate leading the pack on hill repeats along with myself. We set the pace of the pack on tempo runs. We ran together on our 50-minute easy runs, and we kept each other honest. Most importantly, to make sure we weren't going too fast on our runs in practice. Every run had a pose. Sunday long runs at the Saddle River Pathway became a much-loved tradition. That season was special. We coasted through the regular season, ended up taking second at the CTC Championships, which is not our conference. Okay, it's kind of a bonus meet beforehand. And we took second, but we did that in dramatic fashion. And you guys, James is laughing, you may remember this one. We tied the sails that day for second place to rowing. And usually, when you tie in cross country, they use your 6th place finisher on your team as the tiebreaker, meaning your top 5 get your points, and then your highest 6th place finisher breaks the tie. The sails had their 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th runners ahead of our 6th. But they decided to do a coin toss. Thank you to Coach Brendan for not listening to us, and instead calling tails when we all wanted him to call heads. We hoisted the trophy proudly with Tim Kitch on our shoulders that day. The CTC was just a warm-up though. Our goal was always to take back the CACC title, and luckily we did so comfortably. I placed 3rd overall, with James and Taylor less than 30 seconds behind, 4th and 5th. Jay would take 8th and Tim 11th, putting our entire scoring 5 on the all-CACC team. Philly, whose 2nd place finished, more than doubled our point total. And for those that don't know, cross-country, the lowest score wins. We felt vindicated, but not satisfied. In a stunning upset, we nabbed the Team Sportsmanship Award that year. We were anything but sportsmanlike upon them announcing that victory. We were determined to carry the momentum over the regionals. While we placed in the top 10 regions, I had a terrible race. I was about 2 minutes slower than I thought I would run. A few months later, I would pop my hamstring during a track workout. After a sit-down conversation with Coach Bennett and Coach Powell, led to us to make some decisions to ensure I didn't have any more late-season problems like I did both my freshman and then sophomore year. The decisions we made were that 1, I wouldn't run any more track meets for the remainder of my college career. High mileage prep for cross country was the plan all year long. 2, and most importantly, once the season starts, high mileage is over. My mileage will drop dramatically from over 100 miles a week to about 70 and end around 50 when the season is over. I was stubborn, I still am, but in many different ways. So being told to run less mileage, while it sounds like it's a good thing, was very difficult for me, but I wanted to stay open-minded. After all, the evidence was in front of me. I had a great September and October of 2009 and 2010, but after that, things just never went well. I didn't run well at CACCs in 2009, I didn't run well at the region in 2010. I knew I peaked early, and I knew that running too many miles throughout the entire season was the culprit. Their message was clear. You've done the work, you've run more than any damn runner on the starting line of this race. Recover so you can prove it to them when it counts. Going into the 2011 season, my junior year, I'd run thousands of miles in preparation. I think Coach Brennan and Coach Powell joked that I fell 7 or 8 miles short of 2,000 or something like that on the starting line of our first race. The entire team was confident. James was a senior now and was fully healthy after a long battle with that hip injury. Taylor put in a ton of miles over the summer. Even Tim logged more than he ever has, and that's absolutely saying something. In addition to a fine recruiting class, including Keen, Huggins, Philosoph, and Steve Omari, we were ready to make some noise when it really mattered. Regionals. For me personally, I wanted that CACC Runner of the Year award so badly. I felt I had the ability to win CACCs the previous 2 seasons, okay, but never was able to put it together. The last 6 weeks of the summer, I averaged about 120 miles a week. Then once practice started, I dropped it immediately to 70, and things just started clicking. The nervousness on race day was replaced by fresh legs. Coach also had me and Taylor race on a very limited basis to allow us to recover faster and get in higher quality workouts. Honestly, the scariest thing was being told that we weren't racing on race day because it meant that something more difficult was going to happen for us. The regular season was highlighted by a major personal record for me, which was my first sub-25 8K at the NJIC Highlander Challenge. I set the course record in 24 minutes, 59.77 seconds. Breaking 25 was always a major goal of mine. And I'd like to thank Coach Brennan for putting that on the schedule and keeping it there just for me the following year. But the real test was CACCs and regionals. Barring a catastrophe, we knew we had the CACC title in the bag for us. But for me, I was named co-runner of the week several times with Bill Steele of Wilmington. He had won CACC Runner of the Year the year before, and we had many head-to-head matchups throughout the regular season, and I always beat him head-to-head during the regular season in the previous 3 years, but for whatever reason on championship day, he always found a way to best me. At the CACC meet in 2011, by the 3-mile mark, my buddy Taylor had dropped back from setting the pace and let me take over. Our race plan was coming into fruition perfectly. Bill hung on my tail until the final mile when I was finally able to open up a 10-second gap, break the CACC banner with my arms in the air. I still have that banner, by the way, thanks to JR and Mark Mentone for getting that to me. Okay. Breaking the finish line tape that day was probably one of the sweetest victories over the course of many, many races and many miles. Taylor would go on to finish 3rd overall, and we rolled our way to our 2nd consecutive CACC championship as a team. 2 weeks later, we went to Franklin Park in Boston for regionals. I was nervous. I knew about the terrible race I had the year before, and the longer distance at 10K was stressful for me after racing so many 8Ks. So I decided to look towards my friend James, because he had always run well at regionals. He had made the all-region team before me. He was the CACC Runner of the Year in 2008 before me, and the Rookie of the Year before me as well. He always had his best race at regionals no matter what. Always peaked at the right time. So I went out with the lead pack my sophomore year and faded into oblivion. This time I decided to stick with James for the first 2 miles. We went through the 2-mile mark at around 45th or 46th place in this race. It had me stressed, but I wanted to trust the process. We separated at that point, okay? But like predators hunting their prey, we picked off runners one by one. We both made the all-region team that day, and I had my first sub-32-minute 10K, placing 6th overall in 31:52. I find out shortly after that race that I missed qualifying for nationals by 1 spot, but didn't let that bother me as I figured there's always next year. I finally put together a full season, and it had the recipe for success. As a team, we placed 7th, which still stands the highest placement ever for the collegiate cross-country team at the regional meet. In the NCAA level, I want to take away the NAIA, and Coach Simmons had some more success. Fast forward to my senior season, 2012, Taylor and I locked miles together all summer. We were the ultimate 1-2 punch in our races and workouts. We ran side by side with every easy run, hill workout, and tempo day. We had our own racing strategies that worked for us, but never skipped a beat in training. We knew what we had to do. That season was really special. I competed in 4 regular season meets and was fortunate enough to win all 4 of them, including the Paul Short Run, which is the largest invitational on the East Coast in the month of October. And a wrong turn robbed me of that title 2 years earlier. I can be a bit directionally challenged at times. Okay, as anyone that's ever run with me or been in the car with me can tell you. Each one of those races felt like a very controlled effort. It was a weird feeling. After much begging, Coach agreed to let me run at the NJIT Highlander Challenge 1 more time that year. We were actually scheduled to run an invitational the day before at Belmont Plateau, and the rest of the team did. Just that. Coach let me skip it in order to run the next day. I would graduate with a 24:33 8K PR thanks to him, and thankfully that course record also still stands. CACCs were special for Taylor and I. We placed 1st and 2nd overall, with Taylor cracking Bill's steal in the middle of the race. I lowered the CACC meet record and proudly took home the Runner of the Year award for the 2nd year in a row. Unfortunately, injuries to our top 5 runners and a few freshmen making poor decisions as far as their summer training was concerned would cost us our 3rd straight CACC title as a team, but we didn't let that stop us from enjoying what was an awesome career. Taylor and I would go on to make the all-region team 2 weeks later, setting the top 2 10,000-meter times in school history in the process. Felicia taught me a lot of valuable lessons. Most importantly, it humbled me. If it wasn't for my coaches sitting me down and explaining why my training style wasn't working, or why my teammates pulling us all together to focus on team chemistry, I do not believe I'd be at this podium today. Thank you to my coaches and friends for making all this possible. Thank you to my parents for supporting me and encouraging me to live on campus. Thank you to my wife, Cassandra, for her support during my senior season. We met in class during September of that year, and for the fine introduction tonight, thank you. You're my rock, and I cannot thank you enough for supporting me and putting up with my running obsession over the last 9 years. And most importantly, thank you to Mark Mentone. The articles you wrote during my tenure were very motivating in and of itself for me. That, and I really appreciate you dealing with me, BSing with you at all hours of the night about literally anything, whether it was in the laundry room at 1 a.m., in the cafeteria, talking to us late at night, or in your office just going over some things. It really made a big difference for me. Okay. Congrats to all the inductees tonight. I'm wishing everyone continued success, and congratulations to everybody.